In the quiet and dimly lit apartment of Rachel Turner, the flickering of a lone candle cast eerie shadows across the walls. She had always been a woman of logic and reason, dismissing tales of the supernatural as mere superstitions. But that night, as she gazed into her bathroom mirror, her skepticism would be shattered. Rachel stood before the bathroom mirror, her reflection staring back at her with an unusual intensity. It wasn't her own eyes that held her gaze, it was the messages that had appeared, as if written by an unseen hand in the condensation on the glass. Startled, Rachel wiped the mirror clean, convincing herself that it must have been a fluke or a trick of the light. She knew she lived alone, and her apartment had always been a haven of solitude. The words were simple, yet chilling. "You're not alone." Yet, the messages continued. Night after night, as Rachel prepared for bed or brushed her teeth, she'd find ominous words etched onto the mirror. "I see you," they would say. Or, "Don't trust the dark." Rachel's sleep grew restless. She lay awake at night, haunted by the words on the mirror. It wasn't just the messages, it was the feeling that someone was watching her, lurking in the shadows. She became paranoid, convinced that an intruder was living in her apartment, taunting her. She couldn't fathom how someone could be playing such an elaborate prank. Her windows were locked, and there were no signs of forced entry. The idea of her apartment being bugged seemed absurd. One evening, as Rachel braced herself for another unsettling message, the message on the mirror changed. This time, it was a warning, "Leave now." The words sent shivers down her spine, and she knew she had to take action. Rachel contacted the police, who conducted a thorough search of her apartment. They found no signs of an intruder, no hidden cameras, and no explanations for the mysterious messages. Frustrated and terrified, Rachel reached out to a paranormal investigator named Daniel, who had dealt with cases of the supernatural before. Daniel had a calm and reassuring demeanor, which provided some solace to Rachel. As Daniel examined her bathroom, he noticed something peculiar. The mirror had no unusual properties, and the room seemed devoid of any paranormal energy. But he couldn't ignore the fear in Rachel's eyes. He suggested they conduct an experiment. "Let's leave the mirror uncovered, and I'll stay in your apartment tonight," Daniel said. "If there's anything here, we'll find it together." Rachel agreed, desperate for answers. As night fell, she and Daniel sat in the dimly lit living room, the bathroom door open and the mirror exposed. They waited in silence, the only sound the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Hours passed, and nothing unusual occurred. Daniel attempted to put Rachel at ease with stories of his past investigations, but her unease remained. She was about to suggest they call it a night when they heard it, an eerie whisper, a voice that seemed to emanate from the bathroom. Daniel motioned for Rachel to stay put as he cautiously approached the bathroom. He peered inside, but the room appeared empty. The whisper grew louder, and the words became clear, "I'm trapped." A sudden chill swept over Daniel as he realized the source of the voice was the mirror itself. The glass seemed to ripple as if touched by invisible fingers, and Daniel felt an oppressive presence emanating from it. "I can't leave," the voice continued. "It won't let me." Rachel, standing just outside the bathroom, was filled with a sense of dread. She watched as Daniel tried to communicate with the entity within the mirror, asking who it was and why it had chosen to contact her. The voice replied with a story of tragedy. A woman who had lived in the apartment before Rachel, a woman who had died under mysterious circumstances. She claimed to be trapped within the mirror, her spirit bound to it by an unknown force. Daniel and Rachel exchanged worried glances. If what the entity said was true, it explained the messages and the oppressive feeling that had enveloped the apartment. They needed to find a way to free the trapped spirit. Daniel decided to conduct a seance, using an old mirror as a conduit. As they gathered around the mirror, they chanted incantations, calling out to the spirit to reveal itself. The room grew cold, and the mirror's surface shimmered. The trapped spirit emerged, her form a ghostly image within the mirror. She introduced herself as Amelia and recounted the events leading to her death. She had been a kind, compassionate woman who had met a tragic end, and her spirit had remained in the apartment, yearning for release. Rachel felt a mixture of sympathy and fear as she listened to Amelia's story. Daniel continued the seance, channeling the energy to help Amelia break free from the mirror's grasp. It was a tense and chilling process, but after what seemed like an eternity, the spirit was set free, vanishing into the darkness. The messages on the mirror ceased, and the apartment felt lighter, as if a heavy presence had lifted. Rachel and Daniel shared a moment of relief, knowing they had helped Amelia find peace. In the days that followed, Rachel decided to move out of the apartment, unable to shake the memories of the eerie messages and the trapped spirit. She left behind a note for the next tenant, warning them of the mirror's dark legacy. As for the mirror, it was never found again, its ominous presence vanishing along with Amelia's spirit. The mystery of the messages and the woman trapped in the mirror would remain a haunting memory for Rachel and Daniel, a testament to the eerie and unexplained mysteries of the supernatural world.